So, welcome everyone to this webinar on the 2024 EIC Pathfinder Challenge topics. So what is it you can expect from this information package today? Now, a very important message that we want to transmit today and information that we want to provide is to explain you the mindset of the Pathfinder program. It is a very particular program within Horizon Europe, and it's important that we manage to explain it well so that whatever you will submit actually aligns with the expectations of that program and that there is no mismatch. Otherwise, you will not be evaluated positively. So let's start this deep dive into Horizon Europe. Here you see a schematic presentation of Horizon Europe with its typical three-pillar structure. Each pillar has a particular driver. And I start on the very left, this pillar 1, it's called excellent science. And the driver there is, as it says, excellent science, career funding, and typically it is bottom-up programs. The second pillar is that of the global challenges. That's where the typical thematic programs are found. There you will find the space program, you will find the agriculture program, energy program, etc. You can see them on the slide. The third pillar is called Innovative Europe. There it is, the aim of that pillar is bringing the good research ideas closer to the market and eventually generate a revenue. So the 5 Pathfinder Challenge topics each have a thematic orientation, and I will name these 5 topics in the next few minutes. The first one is in the area of energy, and its topic title is Solar to X Devices for the Decentralized Consumption of Renewable Fuels, Chemicals and Materials as Climate Change Mitigation Pathway. The second topic is in the area of materials, and its title is Towards Cement and Concrete as a Carbon Sink. The third topic title is Nature-Inspired Alternatives for Food Packaging and Films for Agriculture. The fourth topic is in the area of nanoelectronics for energy-efficient smart edge devices. And the fifth topic is in the area of space, and its title is Strengthening the Sustainability and Resilience of the EU Space Infrastructures. So 5 topics, each with a thematic prescription. Now, what is surprising is that these 5 topics, they are not called by the typical cluster 2 thematic programs. So they are not called by pillar 2, but instead they are called by what is called the European Innovation Council Program, the EIC program. And why is that? And what is the mindset of that program? This is what I will be taking you through the next few minutes. In the EIC program within Horizon Europe, there are 3 different funding vehicles. I've chosen these 3 different images to make it easier to follow through the presentation. So I will now zoom into the EIC, and there you find again these 3 funding vehicles, which each are positioned on a different part of this so-called technology readiness level scale. It starts at the very left with 1 and goes up to 9. And each of these vehicle funds the progression of disruptive technologies from a certain TRL up to the next one. On the very left is the Pathfinder program. It funds the maturing and advancing of a disruptive technology from 1 up to level 4. The next program is called the EIC Transition. That one aims at taking up what has been developed under Pathfinder and further progressing it up to TRL 6. And the last is the EIC Accelerator program that really then intends to bring these technologies really close to the market. Now, as announced, this event evolves around the Pathfinder program and the 5 topics or the 5 challenges that are called within the Pathfinder program. To recap, these topics are not called through the normal thematic programs, but through the Pathfinder program, because this program has clear gatekeepers that ensure that only those proposals are selected that actually pass these gatekeepers. It's also what we refer to as the mindset of the Pathfinder program. So if you want to submit to Pathfinder, your proposal must meet all of the following characteristics. The first one is it must have a convincing long-term vision of a radically new technology that has the potential to have a transformative positive effect to our economy and society. So the program is asking for disruptive ideas and is not looking for incremental progressions. The second gatekeeper is that the idea must bring concrete, novel, and ambitious science towards technology breakthroughs and must provide advancements towards the envisaged technology. And the third gatekeeper is the project idea, the research. It has to be high risk, high gain. This means that the likeliness that you will achieve all of the objectives that you propose is very unlikely. But if you achieve them, there will be a high gain. It will have a big impact in Europe in 10 years. It's important to mention that whatever you propose as a project idea, it asks for top-level scientific publications. So excellency is a very important evaluation criterion, but also already at early stage, you should consider and address the protection of the generated intellectual property. A second important remark is that for each topic, a portfolio of projects will be chosen which is coherent within the portfolio approach. I will mention more of this at a later stage. But what it means is that for every topic, there is a portfolio manager that overlooks the chosen projects and ensures that there is interaction between these different projects with aiming at achieving also the portfolio goals. Now some practical key information to these 5 topics. The Pathfinder Challenge topics, you can ask for up to 4 million, and it's so-called lump sum funding. This means that the funding is defined upfront and it is fixed in the grant agreement, and it is paid upon completion of the specific activities in each work package. A typical duration of a Pathfinder Challenge project is roughly 3 to 4 years, but there is no, maximum or minimum duration defined. And the funding rate is 100% of the eligible costs. Again, it is important that you keep in mind that it will only fund progression of the technology readiness level up to TRL 4. The deadline of the topics is the 16th of October at 5 p.m. Brussels time. There is important information you need on the consortium, on the eligibility of consortium. I will come to this in a minute. First, I would like to address the situation for all those applying from Switzerland. For these topics, Switzerland is considered third country not associated to Horizon Europe. This means that an applicant from Switzerland will participate as a so-called associated partner. Now, what does that mean? It means that associated partners cannot coordinate the project. They cannot act as coordinators. Secondly, they do not count towards the consortium size. And I'll give you an example. If you have a partner from Germany, from Spain, from Italy, and from Switzerland, this is considered a consortium of 3 because the associated partners, in this case Switzerland, do not count towards the consortium size. A third important remark on associated partners is that their budget does not count towards the total budget. Now, if a consortium with a Swiss partner, with a Swiss associated partner applies and is successfully evaluated, the Swiss partner will be funded by the Swiss government, namely by the State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. And for this, there is a very important document. It's called the Financial Guarantee Letter. And in this presentation, you find the Financial Guarantee Letter for the 2024 topics. Now I come to the consortium and all the possible ways you can submit to these 5 topics. For Pathfinder Challenge, you can submit either as a consortium of 1, of 2, of 3, or more partners. I will go through them one by one. If you submit as a consortium of 1, it requires 1 legal entity established either in a member state or an associated country. I give you now an example of an eligible consortium of 1, and that would be Germany plus Switzerland, because Switzerland does not count towards the consortium size. You can also submit as a small consortium of 2 independent legal entities. In this case, they have to be from 2 different member states or associated countries. An example here would be Germany, France, and Switzerland. For a consortium of a minimum of 3 or more, you need at least 1 member state and at least 2 other independent and different member states or associated countries. So this is to eligibility of consortium and consortium composition. I forgot to mention an example for the last one. That is a consortium of 5. You can see 5 member states, associated countries, plus Switzerland. So once you have your consortium together, once you have submitted your proposal, it will eventually be evaluated. And there's a clear catalog of evaluation criteria. And they come in 3 flavors: excellency, impact, and implementation. And each of them is weighed differently. You can see that excellency makes 60%, whereas impact and implementation weigh 20% each. I will not go through all of these different sub-criteria in detail. I'd just like to draw your attention to page 31 in the EIC work program, where all of them are described in more detail. It's handy to know that the template actually nicely aligns with evaluation criteria. So as you start drafting your proposal, we always advise our researchers and innovators to have the evaluation criteria next to them, so you can nicely align it and make it easy for the evaluator to find what she or he actually needs to assess. So, together with the evaluation criteria, it's important to mention that there are portfolio considerations, because there is the so-called portfolio approach for these 5 topics. What does it mean? It means that in a first step, all proposals that meet the threshold are considered. And then in a second step, an evaluation committee considers each proposal's contribution to setting up a consistent portfolio of projects. Please note that all this information on portfolio considerations are found in a document that is called the Challenge Guide. For each of the topics, there is a particular challenge guide, and it's very important that you read that challenge guide because it contains a lot of information that you need to consider. It can be that the evaluation committee may propose adjustment of your proposal as far as needed in order to keep the consistency of the portfolio approach. And it can also be that the portfolio manager will propose additional activities between the different funded projects with the overarching goal of reaching also the portfolio goals. Now, next steps. I mentioned already before the challenge guide. It's important to read it. And also we provide you the link to the European Commission Info Day for each of the 5 challenges. We advise that you watch it as well, because there's useful information provided by the European Commission. Then we advise you, as mentioned before, to use a proposal template and align it with the evaluation criteria as you progress. Should you have any questions during that process, you can always contact us through this email address shown here, or you can book a bilateral meeting with us as indicated in the link that Francesco shares. Now, in the next part, we will go through the 5 topics, a few minutes per topic, not more, we could speak much longer for each topic, but we on purpose do not do that because we are aware that maximum one of the topics will be of interest to you. But it's important that you get an overview of what the 5 topics are. Again, in-depth advice you can get through bilateral meetings or drop us an email. Hand over to Francesco for the first topic on Solar-to-X devices. Francesco.
Yes, thank you, Cornelia. So here it's the first topic. I frame it a bit. So it's within the political objective of the European Commission with the so-called Fit for 55 policy, which aims at having Europe industry based on renewable resources by 2050. Here specifically, what the topic is looking for, can you go to the next? It's about investigating alternative technology to transform solar energy to chemical energy. And more specifically, they are looking for 4 directions of technology. The first one is about having novel designs of electrolyzers. So they are not looking for incremental, but really for novelty in the design of electrolyzers. The second element is to have photovoltaic and electrochemical conversion fully integrated in one device. Here, the fully integrated is very important. So they don't want to have photovoltaic and a separated electrochemical conversion far away from one another, but they want one device in one box. Let's put it this way. The third element is photosynthetic. How to any kind of technology which is using sunlight to produce feedstock molecules. Here, in particular, they are looking to turn, let's say, low energy molecules like water or CO or CO2 into fuel, chemicals, or any other kind of materials. And finally, the last one is a biological approach, which is using microbial cell factories, for example, and light energy from light to produce energy out of that. These different technologies are, so the objectives of this topic is grouped in 3 areas, and your proposal must address only one of them, not 2, but only one of these 3 areas. So the first area is on producing the device themselves based on the advances of the technologies mentioned above. So the first one concentrates on the technology per se and the device. The second area is not on the device, but on the benchmarking and the metrics. So to compare the different technologies and approaches among in this portfolio. So this is an important aspect. And there the Commission would like to have similar key performance indicators to compare the different approaches among them. And finally, the last aspect is on computational simulations of material sciences from the nanoscale, so understanding the phenomenon and chemistry and physics in the system up to, so it's a multi-scale, so up to the device scale to understand the performance of the technology which is proposed. The outcomes here, it's basically targeting 2 main outcomes. The first one is moving the technologies, so maturing the technologies, which are not yet that mature, so which are still at the lab or the research stage at the moment, but by the end of the project, they should be more mature up to TRL 304. And the second outcome that the Commission expects, so the program managers would like to see, is to develop a robust set of metrics so they can compare the different technologies among them. And with that, I hand over to Cornelia for the next challenge.
Thank you, Francesco. So the title of the next topic is Towards Cement and Concrete as a Carbon Sink. And the goal is to fund a portfolio of projects that pushes forward breakthrough innovations and alternative pathways for decarbonized and carbon negative cement and concrete. The specific objectives are to advance technologies that change the paradigm of these binder technologies with alternative low carbon compounds based on alternative feedstock, and the curing processes, or a combination of. The second specific objective is to advance technologies for a more efficient use of clinker in cement and of cement in concrete compositions. Basically, it's about the binder efficiency there. The third specific objective is to advance technologies that lower or even negate the need for burning fossil fuels and to avoid the associated CO2 emissions. The fourth specific objectives is enabling technologies in support of the first three specific objectives based on the technologies also for computational material sciences and data-driven sciences. Now, also, this topic has overall expectations on outcomes, and these are the reduction of the carbon emission of cement and the concrete supply chain. It is enhancing the opportunities of these four objective domains. And the third outcome is really enhancing the commercialization potential of these individual projects within the portfolio. So this was the second topic on cement and concrete as carbon sink. And I go directly to the third topic. Its title is Nature-Inspired Alternatives for Food Packaging and Films for Agriculture. Now, food production nowadays, the systems heavily rely on fossil fuel-derived plastics. This reliance spans both from the early stage of the production process, for example, in the agricultural setup, as you can see in the left of the two images, through to later stages when the food is packaged and the beverages are packaged in order for the food to be transported, to be preserved, to keep hygiene and safety standards. Now, in this context, the goal of this topic is to fund groundbreaking proposals that replace the use of fossil carbon-based plastics and consider this from farm to fork, so along the whole chain. And overall, the goal is to have an EU policy which is more circular, more research efficient, and in the end, achieve and contribute towards a climate neutral economy. The specific objectives search for groundbreaking proposals that address one or more of the current uses of plastic in the food system. It seeks for proposals that use bio-based sources and raw materials. And it particularly searches proposals that pay attention on regulatory aspects within the development of the materials. In the end, the resulting materials and the process should, over the life cycle, be reducing the energy consumption, reduce water consumption, and enhance the biodegradability, the compostability, and the reusability of the materials. With regards to the outcomes, the projects selected under this challenge are expected to collectively provide a portfolio of environmentally friendly materials and use cases. Further, the funded projects will be expected to work together to develop a robust approach to measure the life cycle impact, namely the environmental, the social, and the economic considerations of the funded projects within the portfolio. The successful implementation of these challenge projects will lead, or should lead, to a paradigm shift in the food and agriculture sector in Europe. Voilà, with this, I hand over to the fourth project, a topic in a completely different area.
Thank you, Cornelia. So the next one is about micro-nanoelectronics, and specifically it's about nanoelectronics for energy-efficient smart edge devices. So the micro-nanoelectronic is increasingly very rapidly. The performance in terms of energy consumption is getting also better and better, but the Commission still thinks that there are still room for improvement, and that's why they write out this, so they propose this challenge. So here, and this is the challenge. So basically, it's about energy consumption. So reduce the power consumption in any kind of micro nanoelectronic devices. Could be for processing, transmitting, storing, memory storage, but specifically applied to edge devices. They have three aspects they are exploring. They would like you to explore. The first one maybe is, yeah. So the first specific objective is about the design of the devices. So how to understand the fundamentals of heat transport in these devices, to have energy harvesting, and also explore alternatives approaches like spintronics, photonics, and so forth and so on. The second element is on the material level and the processing level of the micro nanoelectronics. Could be on electrical, but could be also at the level, so on the electrical properties, but it also could be on the optical interconnects and embedding energy harvesters, possibly on the devices and so forth and so on at the material level. Then the third one is about the device and the architectures. So there it's basically so explore alternatives to electronics. Could be molecular electronics, could be beyond CMOS technologies, or non-von Neumann approaches on computing. So these are the three elements, and we move on the expected outcomes of what the Commission would like to see out of the project which will be selected in the portfolio. So the overall approach on for the program manager for that call is to first address, so find what is the fundamental limits that in a term of energy consumption that the technology could achieve, and to have possible scenarios how to reach these fundamental limits and to minimize, in order to minimize the energy cost. And the second element is out of the portfolio of projects which will be working together there is to have a set of tools for the community when they design smart edge devices. Voila, this is for micro nanoelectronics, and then we move on to the next one, which is about debris in space. So it's a completely different area again. So this one is called for because we have an increased number of launches of devices in space, and they increase the density of objects in space, and the consequence is the higher likelihood of collisions on one side, and the second aspect is also the generation of more wastes in space, and these issues have to be tackled. So the goal is to have cheap deorbiting technologies, so deorbiting approaches which have minimized the fuel consumption, or even do not request fuel at all. While on the second approach, the second aspect of this goal, this call is, instead of deorbiting, rather have recycling strategies. So use the devices which have been launched. Specifically, there are three objectives. So to have debris mitigation approaches and removal approaches to clean the space environment. The second one is really the recycling aspect. So to, instead of burning these debris in the atmosphere, try to reuse them for in-space manufacturing. And the third one is to have approaches for protecting the space infrastructure. So this is a more generic approach, where there the goal is the protection of the infrastructure in space. The Commission has three outcomes out of the objectives. The first one is to have mitigation approaches and remediation approaches for space debris. The second one is to have recycling approaches and to reuse for in-space assembly and manufacturing. So-called in-space assembly, so ESAM, in-space additive manufacturing approaches, to see how this can be used. And finally, the last aspect is a more generic, and this is so-called innovation and application. So this sub-part has four sub-elements. One is to have collision avoidance and strategies. The second one is to have a situation, so space situation awareness system in space. The third element is about algorithm and global simulations on the situation in space or embedded in the satellites themselves, so they are more agile and avoid catastrophic collisions. And finally, the fourth element is on in-orbit spacecraft recognition. So what is actually the device that you are going to encounter, and to also have space debris detection. The call also, in that topic, you will find a reference to another part of Horizon Europe that Cornelia has presented previously, and this is the so-called space part in the Pillar 2, which is embedded in Cluster 4. So here, the Commission encourage you to have interaction with what has been funded in the past in that domain. Thank you, Cornelia.
Okay, so as a quick recap, we have tried to describe and explain what the mindset of the Pathfinder program is, what makes it so particular, and what you should keep in mind when you plan or you consider applying. In the second part, we have said a few words on how to apply, and we have particularly emphasized what does it mean as an applicant from Switzerland. And now in a third part, we have briefly outlined the 5 topics, the 5 Pathfinder challenges that have the deadline on the 16th of October. Now, in the very last part, it is our aim to signpost you what possible next steps could be, and then we conclude by having some time to take your questions. So, for all those that have now have identified a topic that they would like to know more about, we again mention, please read the challenge guide, watch the Info Day video of the European Commission, and if you start drafting, have the proposal template and align it with the evaluation criteria. If after this webinar you have identified a topic that you do want to submit to, feel free to book a bilateral meeting, contact us via email as well. If you have not found a topic that matches, we're still here to support you. Maybe there is another program within Horizon Europe that could be of support. Drop us an email on Pathfinder at Euresearch, and we will signpost you to the particular advisor that could be of help. If you want to be regularly updated on news on specific parts of Horizon Europe, we propose you register to our e-alerts. Take some time to tick the keywords you're particularly interested. With this, you avoid being spammed with information which is not relevant for you. Our aim is to send tailored information to those people with specific keywords that you choose and that we on our side choose, so that there is a good match. I'd like to mention here that Euresearch is funded by the Swiss government. The aim is that we support as many excellence submissions as possible. And for this, we support you with our services all along the journey for finding topics, for discussing your proposal. We even do proposal reviews. We take a few hours to read your complete proposal. We give you feedback. And also, once you have a positive or a negative evaluation result, we further accompany you through this process. We support you in almost everything. What we do not do is write your proposal. You are the expert and you will write the best proposal, but we support you in all of these steps. All of the research services are for free.